Our Bioblitz Biodiversity at Penn State by Claire and I, Molly.
Okay, so this is the eastern cottontail rabbit. You can identify it by its
Molly.
Okay, so this is the eastern cottontail rabbit. You can identify it by its long ears, fluffy tail, and the brownish gray color of its fur. It's a mammal and it's mostly active at dawn and dusk. Rabbits are herbivores, so they eat grass and other plants. Humans, sorry, often see them in backyards and parks. Sometimes gardeners consider them pests because they eat their vegetables. One really cool fact is that rabbits can run up to 35 miles per hour to escape predators, and their ears can rotate to help them detect danger.
Okay. Next, we have the invertebrate. We did the Western honeybee, as you could see to the right of the slides. You can identify them by their hairy eyes and body. Females are usually the ones seen on the flowers and actually pollinating and collecting nectar. Um, the male bees tend to be in the nest and also mating with the queen. In terms of questions, their relationship with other organisms is that they're pollinators, so they collect honey and nectar, and they compete with butterflies as well. So they compete with other pollinators, in terms of resources and food. They reproduce through sexual reproduction, and they have four stages of life. Four stages of life are the egg, larva, pupa, and adult. The relationships to humans is that they produce honey, which is like a natural sugar, and they promote crop pollination. An interesting fact would be heat bowing to kill larger threats. So what they do is they basically shake their body a lot, to make the predator like go away, and ultimately they can kill them too if they're small enough. Okay, so next we have the Chinese hibiscus, which is a flowering plant. You can identify these by their dark green leaves, their vibrant colors. Mainly around here, we have the pink and like the peach colored ones, but they also do come in orange, yellow, and red. Their flowers are look like a trumpet. So they also have a mutualistic relationship with pollinators, such as bees and butterflies, and they go through both sexual and asexual reproduction because they can reproduce through seeds for which we um, plant or through the pollen. They can also be produced through vegetative propagation. So basically, when you cut it and then you grow it. So relationship to humans, they are grown ornamentally, so mainly just for show to be pretty. They also are used for natural medicines, especially in Eastern Asia. So they um they be remedies for when you're sick or just to heal you or make you better. Um, an interesting fact is that their flowers are actually edible, which also makes them a good medicine.
Okay, so this is a non-flowering plant. It's a fern. You can identify it by its petal-like fronds, and it usually grows in shady, moist environments. Ferns reproduce via spores instead of seeds or flowers. Humans use ferns for decorations in gardens and homes because they're usually visually appealing. And a cool fact is that some species of fern can live for hundreds of years, making them one of the oldest plants on Earth.
It's pretty cool, actually. Okay. Next, we have the fungus, which is we did the reddening lepiota. And how you can identify that is when they're young, they're oval and they have like a smooth white color. When they're older or mature, they're flat, they become a flathead and they become red with kind of like brownish red scales. So how it interacts with its environment is that it'll decompose um, dead organic matter into the soil, but it would also compete with other fungi for those resources. Um, it reproduces through sexual reproduction. So when it starts out in life, it starts as a spore and it grows into its mushroom, and then it releases more spores to create more mushrooms. They can be edible, but humans have to be careful when they eat them because it can get confused with the green lepiota. So, and green lepiotas are toxic, so you have to be careful with that. Um, an interesting fact is that they turn red when they're cut or bruised.
Okay, our experience with identification was really a mix. Vertebrates like birds and mammals were easier to identify because they are larger and move around visibly and have distinct features. Non-flowering plants like mosses and ferns and small vertebrae and vertebrates were harder because they require careful observation of tiny details. We found that using field guide apps like Seek and working as a team really helped. For scientists trying to see biodiversity in a new environment, I advise patience, repeated visits, and documenting everything carefully. Sometimes organisms are only visible at certain times or of the day or in a specific environments, so collaboration makes the process faster and more accurate.
For future research, is there a way you can make this small? No, it's okay. Hmm. Our research question was, does herbicides or pesticides negatively impact the pollination that eastern honeybees carry out? So our null hypothesis would be that there is no effect on pollination for eastern honeybees from flowers with herbicides compared to flowers without herbicides. And um, comparatively, our alternative hypothesis would be there is an effect on pollination for eastern honeybees for flowers with herbicides, pesticides, compared to flowers without herbicides or pesticides. So when we did this question, we looked up the impact it would have on honeybees. So the article we found was from um, the National Institute of Health, and the main researcher, Laura Russo, she explored the consequences of using fertilizers and pesticides on these plants and how it decreased the visitor abundance based on the health of of the pollen and the nectar. So the key result they found was that there was a decrease in the amino acids in nectar and a decrease in the fatty acids in pollen, which overall decreased the health of the flower, which when the insects came to, when the pollinators came to pollinate the flower, it ultimately affected their health, which caused them to not come as much, which you could see on the graph to the right. So as the abundance in the blue, um, that was when there wasn't a whole bunch of herbicides or pesticides, but as they went down and they increased the herbicides on the plants, you could see the colors go down and the insect abundance also go down because of the decreased amino acids. Their experimental design was for over a course of 3 months. They would release small doses of herbicides onto the plants and analyze how that affected the pollinator visitation. And then here's our works cited.